Now to a major apology, this time coming from ABC News. This was after they several times showed a video of what they claimed was fighting in northern Syria. However, it turned out to be actual footage from a Kentucky gun demonstration. I kid you not. Like there's not a difference. There is. Meanwhile, you have Hunter Biden, the son of former Vice President Joe Biden, is speaking out after being at the center of an impeachment inquiry and accusations of corruption while serving on the board of Ukrainian gas company.
You never thought this might not look right.
You know what? I'm a human. And you know what? Did I make a mistake? Well, maybe in the grand scheme of things, yeah. But did I make a mistake based upon some unethical lapse? Absolutely not.
He's just human. Well, I'm going to bring in two of my favorite humans with our 360 view. We turned our political panel. Democratic strategist and attorney Jan Ronis and Ted Harvey from the Committee to Defend the President. Two wonderful human beings that I'm very grateful that you're here. And it's not a mistake or ethical challenge that you're going to be talking today. Jan, I got to start with you, though. Regardless of where we sit politically, how dangerous is it, though, for a top news organization like ABC News to make the mistake of a gun range in Kentucky to being a foreign battlefield?
Well, that's one of the problems you have on a personal level with group text, because sometimes you may text somebody within the group that you don't intend to send to all the other group, and, you know, it's a major embarrassment. I mean, look, this is a large organization. That's an inexcusable mistake, and I'm sure somebody's going to lose their job over it because it's certainly embarrassing.
Well, it's not only just embarrassing. I see it to be dangerous when we're talking about this. I mean, it was very dramatic footage. That being said, Ted, should this just be another reason why the public sees the media? They don't trust what is going on, whether we're talking about what is being said or the video footage being said, or should they just dismiss this and say, guess what? It was just a simple mistake. They apologize for it. Let's move on.
Well, I think the question is...
Oh, this is for Ted. Sorry, Jan. Ted.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I question, was it a mistake? If you look at the actual footage that they used and the actual footage that was actually videotaped, the news agency doctored the video. They changed the color. They did everything. They worked to manipulate the actual footage that they had on air as they're talking over it. I mean, I'm not sure I buy that it was a mistake. I think it was an effort by the network to try to make a bad situation for the Trump administration. That's what they've been doing for the last 3 years, and that's what it appears they're going to continue to try to do in any way possible.
And you have to wonder, Jan, if someone would not have called this out, would we even have known this? And does it not make you kind of doubt the videos you're seeing on every other news organization, of course, except for this one, because we put you on our air, and we know that's to be true. But doesn't this make you wonder what else there is out there if we wouldn't have known this was a mistake?
Well, it certainly doesn't define the news, network at all. I mean, listen, every day you can see atrocities taking place in northern Syria along the border with Turkey because of the president's impetuous decision to withdraw American troops. So certainly if people think that this one single incident, which appears to be a mistake, defines the catastrophic problem which is occurring along that border, then they are buying into all these other conspiracy theories that the Trump administration is putting out there. So I come down on the side that it's just likely a mistake on the part of ABC that they should apologize for and make sure it never happens again.
Okay, well, that's the one thing. I guess we have to do that. But at the same time, Ted, this is Hunter Biden is being interviewed on the same network tonight, talking about questions after it was asked, where did you disappear to? And what questions do you think should be asked of Hunter Biden? And what are the odds that you think they really will be?
I think the question that should be asked is, did the vice president intervene to get his son a job? If you look back over the history of Hunter Biden's career, from the time he was 21 years old, just out of college, and gets a significant job with the largest bank in the state, I think that he admits in the interview, if you watch it, that every job he's gotten for the most part his entire life was because of his last name. What role did the vice president have in getting him this job? Because we know for a fact that there was an interview in the White House with the president and an associate of this oil company just before Hunter Biden got this job. I think the question is not so much for Hunter, but it is for the vice president.
And Jan, do you see this as an issue that possibly tonight's interview could create even more problems with Joe Biden and his campaign, considering Joe Biden's one of the big parts of his pillars is that he is such a family man. And in this case, it looks like they weren't even communicating about what his son was doing or where the revenue stream was coming from.
Listen, I think to call former Vice President Biden out on this issue is probably fair game, and the voters will ultimately decide whether there's enough evidence there to taint him such that he should not be considered for the post. But look, this does not define the Democratic Party. This is a single incident involving a candidate who may be flawed, who the public may reject. The fact of the matter is the entire Republican Party is defined by their association with President Trump, who's likely the worst president in the history of this republic, as is evidenced every day. Most recently, this involvement with Turkey and his intervention through Giuliani and other aides in this incident in the Ukraine. I mean, there is unimaginable and disgusting criminal and morally bankrupt behavior emanating from this White House. And those define the entirety of the Republican Party.
Give me one law that's been broken.
Ted, your response?
Oh, my goodness.
Give me one law that's been broken.
Well,
and the reason why the president is in Syria and having to deal with this is because the worst president in the history of our country got us into Syria for no national interest, for no reason whatsoever, even though he drew the red line and changed the red line 3 different times. Then he had to go in because he looked like such an idiot. It is Trump that has been put in this situation because of Obama. It's not because Trump got us in this position. And if you're saying this is the worst president ever, well, let's look at the economy when Obama was there. Look at the lowest unemployment rate in the history of the country with Trump there. Look at the GDP. Look at the growth in employment for African Americans, for Native Americans, for Hispanics. Let's look at all of the things that's going great with this country that Obama had 8 years to try to fix, but he never did. And let's take that to the American voters in a year, and let's see what they have to say.
And
I would say that there's no question that the economy is doing great. It's something that, with all due respect to Mr. Obama, Mr. Trump inherited. But the fact that he has a good economy doesn't give him a blank check to go out and engage in all of this other uncouth, vulgar, and anti-democratic behavior, which he's done.
You said illegally first. I'm still waiting for the laws that he's broken.
Well, there's multiple laws of engaging private individuals engaging in foreign policy, diplomacy, and things of that nature. But putting aside for a second that some of this may not have be against the law, look at the moral depravity of what he has done to try to turn loose his aides on his political enemies to not advance the purposes of this country's security, but merely for his own personal political benefit. This is disgusting behavior, likely never have occurred
like
before,
the FBI, like the NSA,
scale.
like the CIA that was investigating private citizens during a political campaign when they were spying on Trump and his campaign. You're saying that wasn't done by Obama and by the administration? Sorry, I'm not going to let you get away with that.
Well, we're going to continue this conversation. That's a whole nother, but we'll have both of you on because, once again, this is a chapter in a book that never seems to end. Thank you so much for joining us, Jan and Ted.
God bless you both.
My pleasure.
It's hard to clear through the debris and get right down to the nitty-gritty that is real news.
New details are coming to light in the case of Jeffrey Epstein as more
Spread between the 2-year Treasury yield and the 10-year Treasury yield.
Several hundred students are staging a sit-in.
the Amazon rainforest, and the blame game is underway. It's time for RT America. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button.